All right, we're back. My name's Ian Walsh. Welcome to Kitchen Captain if you're just tuning in. And today we're gonna make the best damn Thanksgiving turkey on the planet. Okay, our first step for this Thanksgiving bird is to plan ahead. We're making a brine today that will allow us to cook this thing tomorrow. In the brine, we're gonna start with 1 quart of water over medium heat, and we're gonna add salt, sugar, peppercorns, bay leaves, rosemary, thyme, garlic, onion, and the skin of 1 orange and 1 lemon. Step 1 is our 1 quart of water is heating over medium heat. We're gonna add 1 cup of salt. Then we're gonna add about 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Meditative. Next to that, we're gonna add some peppercorns. Now let's get some fresh garlic involved, maybe like 4 or 5 cloves. Okay, now take those garlics you just fought to open up, add those into our water. 1 orange peel. Try your best to not get too much of that white stuff, which is the pith. That's the bitter part. Take our orange peel into our brine. Now we're gonna do that same damn thing with a lemon. Not sure if my peeler's dull or if I just suck at this. If this is the most firm lemon skin in all the land, because this fucker is tough. Take that lemon peel, you know the drill, into the pot. Now we're gonna add a handful of bay leaves, about 4 or 5, a few sprigs of thyme, and 1 sprig of rosemary right out of the yard. Onion. Give this all a stir. Let them start to mingle. So we're just gonna bring this up to a boil and then kick the heat off and let it cool down. Okay, now let's take this pot that's making my kitchen smell amazing and pour this into a big pot of cold water. We don't want this hot water to make this water hot. We let this cool down and we're pouring it into ice water. Leave no peppercorn behind. Before we put this bird in here, we want to make sure this isn't warm. We'll checky poo. You could definitely bathe in here. It has to be like the 4th largest pot in the world. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more ice to this and we should be good. Okay, now we're gonna prep our bird to go into that brine. We're going with about a 12-pound bird today, and the rule of thumb is generally 1 pound per person. If you're planning a big dinner, you know the math. 12 pounds should be a 12-person-ish dinner. First things first, we're gonna get into this thing and get nasty. Don't be shy. We're gonna pull out this little baggie of heart and liver and the neck, and make sure there's no ice or anything like that because we did defrost a frozen bird. This bird is ready to be brined. This little nugget that we just fisted out of this turkey is great for a stock, as is the liver and the heart. Okay, now we're gonna take our bird and carefully lay it into our pot without splashing ourselves in the face. Once you get into the pot, get all this thing covered up, fill the cavity with the liquid of our brine, and then whatever side you feel like is the top is probably the top, which happens to be the breast side. Face that one down. We want this thing basically upside down in the brine the entire time it soaks. Then we're gonna get some plates, cover it up to weight it so this thing doesn't try to breach and work its way out of this brine. Of course. Correction. Grab some small enough plates or small enough bowls or plates to fit in your pot. Put them on top of your bird. Okay, cover this thing up. Muscle it over to the fridge. Now that we've readjusted my racks to fit this big ass pot, 12 to 24 hours, let that bird sit and we'll be back. Okay, our turkey has been sitting in our brine for just under 24 hours, and now we're gonna get ready to dress this bird before we put it in the grill. So the first step is to peel some garlic cloves. We're gonna make a garlic herb butter to slather all over the inside of that turkey. Okay, we're gonna go with a garlic press to try to get this a little bit more fine, about 5 cloves. Okay, just give it a little dice up. Add a pinch of salt to try to draw some of the moisture out of the garlic. Try to smear it down a little bit. Some thyme, some rosemary, herb side of our garlic herb butter. And then give this a nice fine chop. Now we're gonna take 1 stick of unsalted grass-fed butter, add our garlic, herb, into there. Pinch of salt to this. And then get nasty. Get to mixing. All right, next step is our base for the gravy. We're gonna start with some carrots. Gonna roughly chop these, take the ends off, get rid of those two suckers, and then just do about 1-inch slices. These can be kind of big because we're gonna end up straining all these vegetables out when we make our gravy. These are basically gonna sit right underneath the turkey and collect all the juices as it cooks, and then we're gonna make a delicious gravy out of that. Celery, next onto the chopping block. Same thing, about 1-inch pieces. Take an onion, off with the top, off with the root, ditch the skin, and then we're gonna do the same thing, kind of big coarse pieces. I mean, how would we not add some garlic to that, really? Don't peel your garlic and throw it in the trash pile, like I seem to do every single time I peel garlic. Okay, to the bottom of our pan, the last thing that goes in is 1 quart of chicken or turkey stock. 32 fluid ounces if you like to do math. All right, now let's get this bird out of our brine. Take our stupid bowls out of here. Try not to take half your pot of brine onto your counter or kitchen floor. Let this bird drain out. Bird's out. You can get off any of these leaves or seasonings that came out of this brine. Now we're gonna pat this thing dry. Remember, a dry bird equals a good crust on the outside. Just like drying it off after a surf. Get under the legs, under the wings. Make sure there's nothing hiding in this cavity. Kinda serial killer-ish, but we're gonna get under this skin and separate it gently from the meat. And the reason we're gonna do this is we're gonna come back into here with that garlic herb butter, and we're gonna slather the whole inside of this thing. And holy shit, that is gonna be good. Rhino. It feels like that scene in Ace Ventura when coming out of that rhino's back end. Okay, now it's time to really get nasty. So grab your garlic herb butter, open it up, and then start to massage this around, and you can kind of spread it with your other hand. And don't be shy, get in there. But get your hand into that turkey cave. Spread this around in there too. We want to season this thing from the inside out and from the outside in, and then season all over the inside of this thing. Salt and pepper. Also, to go on the inside, we're gonna put a couple sprigs of thyme, a few sprigs of rosemary, 1 whole clove of garlic. Cut that thing in half, throw that whole sucker right in there. I'm also gonna do about 1/2 an onion. Okay, now for the next phase of this, we're gonna tie this bird up with some cooking twine. So we're gonna tuck the wings down and underneath the front, take our twine, slide this thing underneath the bird, and then come from the middle, tie this twine down. We'll pull it in, which will tighten the skin down on the breast. And we're gonna take the other ends around the pack of these legs and tie these 2 legs together. Slippery little butter. And just give a couple loops onto those legs at the end. Okay, to season the outside, we're gonna hit it with a little olive oil. And we're just gonna season this thing liberally with salt and pepper. Might seem like a lot of salt, but it does kind of soak in, and there's a lot of meat we want to get to. Pepper. And if you have a little bit left over of that garlic herb butter, I don't think anyone will be mad about having some of that on the outside. Okay, now do your best to not drop this damn bird on the floor. We're gonna transfer this thing over, Dancing with Danger, right into our nice pre-prepped baking dish. Turn your Traeger on. We're gonna let it ignite and then set it to 300 degrees, and while this preheats, we'll finish preparing the turkey. Game on. So the pellet choices for the turkey today, I went with a 50-50 mix of hickory and apple, and I think that'll give it a pretty damn good flavor. Now we're gonna set a probe into the thickest part of the breast, and you don't want this too close to the bones or anything because that can affect the heat this is reading. Pull this bird off the grill at about 160 degrees. Try to find the thickest part, what you think is in that breast, and you go in from the front. There we go. Throw this bird on. Oh, always something, isn't it? Forgot the top rack again. So we're gonna put it on the center of the grill, and as this thing cooks, we might spin it once or twice so that both sides are getting even heat. So About 3 hours. We're gonna check this thing and we're aiming for 160 degrees internal temperature. Okay, let's give this bird a check. Whew, looking good. I'm just gonna turn this around so it's cooking kind of evenly. Okay, we just hit 160 internal temp in our turkey. And I'm just gonna double check that. Bang, 160. Take this thing off. Wow, that thing's really in there. Oh, there we go. Okay, our turkey's hit 160 internal temperature. We're gonna take it off and let it rest until it comes up to about 165. So we're done here. Look at that thing. Okay, now we're on to the gravy. The first part to our gravy is we're gonna make a roux, and that's gonna be 1 stick of butter to 1 cup of flour. We're gonna combine the 2 of them right now. We're gonna wait for our butter to melt. Okay, once your butter comes to a bubble, add in 1 cup of flour and stir. And this should start to make your kitchen smell like the best place on the planet. And that, my friends, is a roux. Okay, now the next step is taking the bottom of our big ass tray and pouring it through a strainer. Did I really not mix it? No, it could have went all over the top of the stove or right into the strainer. There was one. Couldn't be the perfect pour. Okay, now skim the fat off the top as best you can. We're feeding a lot of people, so we're gonna add about another cup of broth. 1 to 2 more cups. Now slowly mix this roux in with a whisk. Make sure it's all dissolved before you add any more in. And this is gonna thicken up the gravy. And we're aiming for a good turkey day thickness. Now she's looking like gravy. That's looking pretty thick and good. Gravy's done. Oh God. Okay, let's do this. Let's give this thing a try. It's been resting for about 30 minutes. Good God, that's good. That is really juicy. That might be the perfect turkey. That'll knock your pants right off. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving and look forward to the next adventure. Down the wrong tube. Oh, I got too happy. I was like drinking it instead of chewing it.